The laboratory hummed with quiet tension. Dr. James Walker moved from one computer screen to another, checking readings that no human had ever seen before. His eyes were red from lack of sleep, but they shone with excitement. "Anna, look at this," he called to his lead engineer. Anna Reed pushed away from her workstation and joined him. Her dark hair was tied back in a simple ponytail, and her lab coat had coffee stains from 3 days ago. She squinted at the screen. "The dark matter is containing itself," she asked, not quite believing what she was seeing. "Not just containing itself, it's creating a stable field that we can control." James pointed to a series of numbers that kept changing. "We've done it, Anna. After 5 years, we've finally done it." The small underground lab in Colorado had been their home for those 5 years. Only 12 people in the world knew about their work. Dark matter, the mysterious substance that made up most of the universe but couldn't be seen or detected easily, was finally being harnessed. Tom Davis, their physicist, walked in carrying 3 cups of coffee. His round glasses slipped down his nose as he set the cups down. "Did I miss something?" he asked, noticing their excitement. "Only the biggest breakthrough in human history," Anna said, taking the coffee. "James did it. He created a stable dark matter containment field." Tom's eyes widened. "That's impossible." He rushed to the screen, spilling his coffee. That's going to change everything," James finished for him. None of them knew just how true those words would be. 3 days later, everything did change, but not because of their discovery. The message came to every screen on Earth at the same time. In every language, the same face appeared. Humanoid, but clearly not human. Its skin was pale blue, with no hair, and eyes too large for its head. "People of Earth," it said in a calm, almost musical voice, "I am Ambassador Gray of the Galactic Council. We have watched your development for some time, and we are pleased to inform you that you have been deemed worthy of membership in our community of advanced species." The world erupted in chaos and celebration. First contact. Proof that humans were not alone. But in the Pentagon, in a secure room deep underground, Admiral Mark Stone watched the message with narrowed eyes. "They look down on us," he said to the President and Joint Chiefs seated around him. "Listen to how they speak. Deemed worthy, like they're doing us a favor." The President, a former diplomat, shook her head. "We should be careful not to project our own attitudes onto them, Admiral. This is a historic moment, and one we should approach with caution," Stone insisted. "Madam President, I suggest we continue all defense research programs until we know more about this council." "Including Walker's dark matter project?" the President asked. Stone nodded firmly. "Especially that one." 2 weeks later, Ambassador Gray arrived on Earth in a ship that seemed to be made of light itself. The world watched as he met with world leaders, smiling his strange smile that never reached his large eyes. Dr. James Walker watched the news from his new lab, now hidden beneath the surface of the moon. His team had been moved there on Admiral Stone's orders, their work classified beyond top secret. "Look at the way they avoid the technical questions," Tom said, pointing at the screen where Gray was giving a press conference. "Every time someone asks about their technology, he changes the subject. He's hiding something." Anna agreed. "But what?" James turned away from the screen. "It doesn't matter. We have our orders. Double the work speed. No breaks until we achieve full containment." They worked day and night. While Earth celebrated its new place in the galactic community, the small team on the moon made breakthrough after breakthrough. Dark matter, they discovered, could be used not just for energy, but for propulsion and even weapons beyond anything humans had created before. But 6 months into their work, they hit a problem. "They're watching us," Admiral Stone told James during his monthly visit to the moon base. "This council has sensors all over our system. They're asking questions about energy spikes coming from the moon." "We're shielded," James protested. "There's no way they could detect what we're doing." Unless they already know about dark matter technology, Stone said grimly. Unless they're making sure no one else gets it. The truth came 3 days later. Ambassador Gray stood before the United Nations, his blue skin glowing under the lights. His voice was still musical, still calm, but now there was a new tone in it. Firmness. Authority. As new members of the Galactic Council, he said, you must understand that certain technologies are restricted. For the safety of all species, of course. He showed a list on the large screen behind him. Advanced AI, faster than light travel, certain types of genetic modification, and dark matter manipulation. These technologies can only be developed after centuries of cultural maturity, Gray explained. Earth will be eligible to apply for development rights in approximately 300 years. In the moon base, watching the broadcast, James turned to Stone. They're keeping us down, he said quietly. They don't want competition. Stone's face was hard as stone. Then they shouldn't have shown their hand so early. Keep working, Doctor. But from now on, we're in a race. The breakthrough came a year later. James stood in a circular room, looking at what appeared to be a small black sphere floating in the center. It gave off no light, no radiation their instruments could detect. It simply existed, hovering there, a perfect captive piece of dark matter. It's beautiful, Anna whispered beside him. It's more than beautiful, James replied. It's powerful enough to run a city for a century, or power something else, came Admiral Stone's voice from behind them. He entered the room with 2 military engineers, something that will make sure Earth isn't at the mercy of this council. Tom joined them, carrying his tablet with the final calculations. We can build a ship around this technology, something that can travel faster than their ships, that can't be detected by their sensors. How soon? Stone asked. James looked at his team, then back at the floating sphere of darkness. With proper resources, 3 years. Stone nodded. You'll have everything you need. None of them noticed the small drone outside the base's viewport, watching with artificial eyes. In orbit above Earth, in the Council's embassy ship, Ambassador Gray received its transmission and frowned for the first time since arriving at this troublesome planet. The humans were clever. Too clever. And they were doing exactly what the Council had forbidden every emerging species from doing for the last 10,000 years. Gray sent a message back to the Council's homeworld. Earth might need special attention after all. But it was already too late. In the hidden lab beneath the lunar surface, humanity's first dark matter core pulsed with power. The race for the stars had begun, and Earth had no intention of staying in last place. 3 years passed in a blur of work, tests, and secrecy. Deep inside the asteroid belt, hidden from Council sensors, Earth's first dark matter warship took shape. Captain Lisa Hayes stood on the observation deck, looking at the finished ship. It hung in the great construction bay, a sleek black vessel that seemed to swallow light rather than reflect it. Only its faint blue engine glow hinted at the power within. The Nightshade, she said, tasting the name. She's beautiful. Admiral Stone stood beside her. Age had added more lines to his face, but his eyes remained sharp and determined. Beautiful and deadly, he said. The most advanced ship ever built by human hands. Lisa nodded. At 35, she was young for such a command, but she had been the top pilot in the secret space fleet for years. When Stone needed someone who could handle a ship unlike any other, her name was the first on his list. When do we leave? She asked. Tomorrow. Your crew is ready. Your mission is simple. Test the ship's capabilities beyond our solar system and return without being detected. Lisa turned to face him. And if we are detected? Stone's face hardened. Then we find out if our weapons work as well as our engines. The crew of the Nightshade gathered in the main briefing room. 20 men and women. The best Earth had to offer. Lisa looked at each face, memorizing them. There was Jack Wilson, her first officer, with his steady hands and steady nerves. Maria Diaz, the engineer who understood the dark matter core better than anyone except Dr. Walker himself. Robert Green, weapons officer, whose quiet voice hid a fierce loyalty to Earth. "You all know why we're here," Lisa began. "For 3 years, the Council has been watching Earth, limiting our technology, keeping us in a box. Tomorrow, we leave that box." She touched a control, and a hologram of the ship appeared in the center of the room. "The Nightshade can travel 10 times faster than any known Council ship. Our dark matter shielding makes us invisible to their sensors. Our weapons—" She paused, looking at Green. "Our main cannon can punch through any known shield," he said. "The dark matter torpedoes can disrupt the atomic structure of any material. In theory, anyway." "In theory," Lisa repeated. "Tomorrow, we see if theory becomes reality." She saw the mix of excitement and fear on their faces. This wasn't just a test flight. It was a declaration that humanity would not accept second place in the galaxy. The launch was silent. Perfect. The Nightshade slipped away from the hidden base, its dark surface blending with the blackness of space. No rockets, no flames, just the quiet hum of the dark matter core as it bent space around the ship. Lisa sat in the captain's chair, feeling the power beneath her. "Dark matter drive engaged," Maria reported from engineering. "Core is stable. We are running silent." "Take us out of the system," Lisa ordered. "Let's see what she can do." The stars blurred as the Nightshade accelerated. The solar system fell behind them. And then they were truly in deep space, going faster than any human had ever traveled. Jack checked his instruments. No sign of pursuit or detection. "We're ghosts, Captain." Lisa allowed herself a small smile. "Set course for the Epsilon system. That's 30 light years. Should take us about 3 days at this speed. The Council has outposts there," Robert warned from weapons. "Exactly," Lisa replied. "A perfect test of our stealth systems." The journey was smooth, the ship performing beyond expectations. The crew worked in shifts, monitoring the dark matter core, making small adjustments. On the 3rd day, they reached Epsilon. "Slow to observation speed," Lisa ordered. "Let's see what's out here." The main screen showed a beautiful system. 2 suns orbiting each other, 9 planets, countless moons. According to Council records shared with Earth, the 4th planet had been marked as a potential future colony world. "I'm picking up unusual readings from the 4th planet," Jack reported, frowning at his screen. "There seems to be mining activity." Lisa leaned forward. "Show me." The screen zoomed in. The planet's surface was being stripped, great machines digging into the Earth, and working those machines. "Those are humans," Robert said in shock. "Earth humans." Lisa stared at the screen. It couldn't be possible. No human colony ship had ever gone this far. Unless. "The Council told us they've been watching Earth for decades," she said slowly. "What if they've been doing more than watching? What if they've been taking people?" The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. "Captain," Maria said finally, "there's another ship in orbit around the planet. Council design. It's a Varn vessel." The Varn, one of the junior Council races, reptilian and known for their mining operations, now apparently using human slave labor on a world they claimed was uninhabited. "We should report back to Admiral Stone," Jack suggested. Lisa watched the screen, saw a human worker collapse only to be struck by a Varn overseer. Her hands tightened on the arms of her chair. "No," she said, "we can't leave them. Not now that we've seen this." "Captain, our orders." "Our orders were to test this ship's capabilities." Lisa cut him off. "I intend to do exactly that." She turned to Robert. "Prepare weapons. We're going to free those people." The Nightshade appeared above the mining colony like a piece of night sky come to life. The Varn ship in orbit had no warning, no time to raise shields or fire weapons. One shot from the dark matter cannon, and it split in 2, its reactor going dark. On the surface, the Varn overseers looked up in confusion as their communications died. Then the black ship descended, hovering over the main compound. Lisa's voice boomed from the Nightshade's external speakers. "This is Captain Hayes of Earth. You are holding humans against their will. Release them immediately, or we will free them by force." The Varn commander, a tall reptilian with yellow scales, stepped out of the main building. He looked up at the ship with disbelief. "Earth has no vessels this far from their system," he hissed into his communicator. "The Council forbids it." "We no longer recognize the Council's right to forbid anything," Lisa replied. "You have 1 minute to release your prisoners." The Varn's response was to order his guards to aim weapons at the human workers. It was the last order he would ever give. The Nightshade's precision beams struck, vaporizing the Varn weapons and cutting a perfect circle around the human workers, separating them from their captors. Before the Varn could regroup, Lisa had landed the ship and sent her security team to escort the prisoners aboard. There were 200 of them, thin and scared from years of labor. They stared at their rescuers in disbelief. "You're from Earth?" one old man asked, his voice cracking. "Real Earth." "We are," Lisa assured him. "And we're taking you home." As the Nightshade rose from the planet, the Varn mining facility behind it erupted in flames, a message that could not be ignored. Word spread through the galaxy faster than the Nightshade could fly. A mysterious black ship that appeared and disappeared like a shadow. A destroyed Varn mining operation. Freed human slaves telling stories of their rescue. In the Council's Great Hall, Ambassador Gray faced angry questions from his superiors. "You assured us they were contained," the Council elder said, its many eyes blinking in displeasure. "You said their technology was primitive. They concealed their true progress." Gray replied, his musical voice now strained. "The humans are resourceful. They are dangerous," the elder corrected. "They have dark matter technology, which we have kept from all emerging races for millennia. And now they know about our harvesting operations." Gray bowed his head. "What are your orders?" "Prepare the fleet," the elder said. "Earth must be taught the price of defiance." But even as the Council plotted, the Nightshade was racing home, carrying its freed prisoners and the truth about the Galactic Council that had pretended to welcome humanity with open arms. The Grand Council chamber was built to impress. Its ceiling soared hundreds of feet above the floor, made entirely of a crystal that changed colors with the mood of the debate. Today, it burned angry red. "This is outrageous," shouted the Varn representative, his scales standing on end with fury. "Humans attacked our mining operation without provocation." 500 representatives from across the galaxy sat in rising circles around the central speaking platform. At the highest level sat the 7 elder species, the founding members of the Council who held true power. Below them were the mid-tier races, granted some privileges. At the bottom level sat the newest members, including Earth's empty chair. Ambassador Gray stood alone on the speaking platform, his blue skin pale under the harsh red light. "The humans deny any knowledge of this attack," he said, his musical voice strained. "They claim no ship left their system." "They lie," hissed the Varn. 200 of our workers have vanished. Our supply ship was destroyed by a vessel using dark matter weapons." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Dark matter weapons. The forbidden technology. The chief elder, a massive being whose true form was hidden beneath flowing silver robes, raised a hand for silence. "This is a grave matter." The elder's voice boomed, translated simultaneously into all galactic languages. "If humans have indeed developed dark matter technology and left their system, they have violated the 2 most sacred laws of membership. The penalty for such violations is clear," said another elder, this one a spindly creature with 6 arms. "Containment and regression. Their civilization must be reset." More murmurs, some of agreement, some of concern. Reset meant orbital bombardment, the destruction of all technology, the reduction of a species to primitive survival. In the shadows of a maintenance tunnel that ran behind the chamber, Ben Miller pressed his body against the wall, listening through a hidden sensor. An intelligence officer from Earth's new space command, he had infiltrated the Council station 3 months ago, posing as a maintenance worker. His heart raced as he recorded the debate. This was worse than Admiral Stone had feared. The Council wasn't just restricting Earth's development. They were prepared to destroy human civilization if it advanced too quickly. Ben slipped away, moving through the maintenance tunnels toward the Council archives. If Earth was going to fight back, they needed information. They needed to know exactly what they were dealing with. Admiral Stone stood before the world's leaders in the United Nations emergency session. The chamber was silent as he finished presenting Captain Hayes' report and the images from Epsilon. "This is what the Galactic Council really is," he said, his voice hard. "Not a benevolent group of advanced species welcoming us to a peaceful galaxy. They are colonizers and enslavers who have been taking humans for decades, using them as labor on distant worlds." The Secretary General, a normally composed woman, looked shaken. "You have proof of this. 200 living witnesses now in our protection," Stone replied. "And this." He pressed a button, and a new image appeared on the giant screen behind him. A massive spacecraft, unlike anything humanity had built, emerging from a hidden base beneath the Pacific Ocean. "Council spies on Earth," Stone explained. "They've been here for at least 50 years, monitoring us, occasionally taking people for their colonies. Their ship was preparing to leave after we destroyed their mining operation." "Was?" the Chinese representative asked. Stone allowed himself a small, grim smile. "We used our prototype weapons to disable it. We now have Council prisoners and their technology for study." The chamber erupted in voices, some frightened, some angry, all demanding to know what this meant for Earth. Stone raised his hands for quiet. "There's more. Officer Miller has sent information from the Council's central station. They're planning to reset our civilization, orbital bombardment to destroy our technology and infrastructure." This time, the silence was absolute, heavy with fear. "But we're not defenseless," Stone continued. "For 3 years, we've been building in secret. Captain Hayes' mission was just the beginning." He pressed another button. The screen showed 5 black ships, each similar to the Nightshade but larger, more menacing. Our dark matter fleet. 5 warships, each capable of taking on multiple Council vessels, each able to appear anywhere in Council space without detection. "You built these without authorization?" the Russian president asked, his voice a mix of anger and admiration. "I built them to protect Earth," Stone replied simply. "And now we need them." Ben Miller moved through the central archive, his stolen access card opening doors that no human was meant to pass through. The Council's history was stored here, records going back thousands of years. He found what he was looking for in a secure terminal, files marked Species Management Protocols. His hands flew over the alien keyboard, copying data to his hidden device. What he found made his blood run cold. The Council wasn't just restricting Earth. It had been doing the same to dozens of species across the galaxy for millennia. Any race that showed too much promise, developed too quickly, was either restricted like Earth or reset if they resisted. And behind it all were the elder species, the first 5 spacefaring races who had formed the Council not for peace, but to ensure their eternal dominance. "I thought I might find you here," came a soft voice behind him. Ben spun around, hand reaching for his hidden weapon. A small alien stood in the doorway, not one of the blue-skinned species like Ambassador Gray, but a greenish creature with large, intelligent eyes. "I'm not here to stop you," the alien said, raising its 4-fingered hands. "I'm Nyx from Proxima Centauri. We were restricted 300 years ago." Ben kept his hand on his weapon. "What do you want?" "The same thing you do. The truth to be known." Nyx moved to the terminal. "You should also see these files, the harvest records. Your people aren't the only ones being taken for labor." Together, they downloaded more evidence of the Council's true nature. In the Council chamber, the debate had turned to action. The Chief Elder had just called for a vote on the Earth solution when the chamber's giant doors slid open. Admiral Stone walked in, flanked by Captain Hayes, and Dr. Walker. Behind them floated a small black sphere, a dark matter core. Gasps and shouts filled the room. Security forces moved forward, weapons raised. "Hold your fire," Stone called out, his voice carrying through the chamber. "Unless you want this dark matter core to destabilize and take this entire station with it." The security forces froze. The chief elder rose from its seat. "How dare you enter this chamber, human? You have no authority here." Stone smiled coldly. "I have the authority of 5 dark matter warships currently surrounding this station, each capable of reducing it to atoms. I suggest you listen to what we have to say." The crystal ceiling had shifted from red to a pulsing purple of confusion and fear. Stone stepped forward. "We know the truth about the Council. We know about the harvesting of our people. We know about your plans to reset Earth." He nodded to Hayes, who activated a projector. Around the chamber, images appeared, humans working in mines, Council ships taking people from remote areas, the secret base under the Pacific. But most importantly, Stone continued, "We know that the Council was never about peace or progress. It was about control. The elder species ensuring they remain dominant while keeping everyone else down." Angry shouts came from the highest tier, but from the middle and lower tiers, a different reaction spread. Whispers, glances, the beginning of questions. A representative from a mid-tier species stood. "Is this true? Have we been deliberately held back as well?" The chief elder's voice boomed. "Do not listen to these primitives. They seek to destroy our order." But it was too late. Ben Miller had entered the chamber from a side door, together with Nix and several other representatives from restricted species. They carried data devices, projecting more evidence throughout the chamber. "The real purpose of the Council," Ben announced, "has been to prevent any species from challenging the elders. Not for safety, not for peace, but for power." The chamber erupted into chaos. Mid-tier species shouting at the elders, restricted species finding their voices for the first time. In the midst of it all, Admiral Stone stood firm, the dark matter core floating beside him, symbol of the technology that humans had developed despite every effort to hold them back. The Galactic Council was fracturing before his eyes, the careful hierarchy of thousands of years crumbling in a single day. And Earth was at the center of the storm. 1 month after the Council chamber confrontation, Earth had become the center of a galaxy-wide rebellion. Admiral Stone stood at the window of the newly built Space Command headquarters, looking down at the ships gathered in Earth orbit. There were vessels of all shapes and sizes, the angular crystal ships of the LUM, whose bodies were partly made of the same material as their vessels. The massive organic-looking craft of the Drell, a reptilian species whose technology merged with living tissue, and a dozen other designs from species who had all suffered under Council restrictions. "The Coalition fleet is almost ready, Admiral," said Captain Hayes, joining him at the window. Her uniform now bore the marks of her new rank, Fleet Commander. "How many ships?" Stone asked. 43 combat vessels, including our 5 dark matter warships, 17 support ships." Hayes handed him a tablet. "The Drell have adapted the dark matter core design to 3 of their vessels. The LUM are still working on it." Stone nodded. Dr. Walker had shared the dark matter technology with Earth's new allies, teaching them how to build and control the powerful cores. It was a gesture of trust that had cemented the Coalition and our targets. Hayes touched the tablet, bringing up a map of the galaxy. Red dots appeared across it. Military installations belonging to the elder species, research facilities, harvesting operations where they're using captive labor. Stone studied the map. "That's a lot of targets. A lot of people suffering while we talk," Hayes replied quietly. Stone knew she was right. The information Ben Miller had brought back revealed the horrifying scale of the Council's exploitation. Millions of beings from dozens of species working as slaves on worlds controlled by the elders. "Begin the operation," he ordered. "Let's show the elders what happens when the restricted species work together." 3 days later, the Coalition struck. Across the galaxy, dark matter warships appeared without warning above Elder installations. The Nightshade, now commanded by Jack Wilson, led the attack on a massive mining complex in the Rigel system. All ships in position, Jack reported from the bridge. Below them, the mining complex spread across the moon's surface, worked by thousands of captive Drell. "Begin the attack," came Hayes' voice over the secure channel. "Remember, precision strikes only. We're here to free the workers, not destroy everything." The Nightshade fired, its dark matter weapons cutting through the complex's defenses like they weren't there. The other Coalition ships followed, their less advanced weapons still more than enough to overwhelm the surprise guards. Within an hour, the complex was under Coalition control. The freed Drell stumbled into the light, staring up at their rescuers with disbelief and hope. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. The Council's military had never prepared for an enemy that could appear anywhere without warning. One by one, their secret facilities fell. In the Council's emergency bunker, deep beneath their central station, the Elder species gathered. Their usual robes and dignity were gone, replaced by fear. "This is impossible," said the Chief Elder, watching reports of yet another facility lost. "How are they coordinating these attacks? How are they moving so quickly?" Ambassador Gray stood before them, no longer the confident representative, but a messenger delivering bad news. "The humans have shared their dark matter technology with the other species. They're building more ships every day." "And the countermeasures?" demanded another elder. Gray hesitated. "Our scientists are working on it, but dark matter technology is difficult. We've kept it restricted for so long that few of our own people understand it fully." The truth hung in the air, unspoken but clear. The elders had suppressed dark matter research for so long that they had fallen behind. The technology they had feared in others' hands had become their downfall. "We still have one option," said the third elder, its voice low and dangerous. "The core device." The chamber fell silent. The core device, the ultimate weapon, built millennia ago when the elders first seized control. It had never been used, its power too terrible even for them. "That would affect innocent worlds as well," Gray protested. "There are no innocent worlds anymore," the Chief Elder replied coldly. "They have all chosen their side. Prepare the device." Captain Hayes led the most important mission herself. While the Coalition forces liberated slave worlds across the galaxy, she took the Nightshade to the Council's central archive with a special team. Ben Miller, Dr. Walker, and representatives from 3 Coalition species. "Security is heavier than expected," Ben reported as they approached in stealth mode. "They've doubled the guard since I was last here." "They know how valuable the information is," Hayes replied. "And we need that information more than ever." Their mission was clear: find the real core, the truth behind the Council's formation. Information that could unite the galaxy against the Elders once and for all. The Nightshade slipped past the outer defenses, its dark matter shielding making it invisible to the Council sensors. Hayes brought it alongside an emergency airlock. "Small team only," she ordered. "Ben, Dr. Walker, with me. The rest stay with the ship." The 3 humans moved through the station's corridors, avoiding patrols. Ben's knowledge of the layout proved invaluable as he led them through maintenance tunnels and restricted areas. "The secure archives should be through here," he whispered, approaching a massive door. Dr. Walker examined the lock. Advanced encryption. But he pulled out a small device of his own design. Every lock has a key. The door slid open, revealing a vast chamber. Not the electronic archives Ben had accessed before, but something far older. Physical records, artifacts, preserved in stasis fields. "The real history," Ben breathed. They moved quickly, scanning anything that looked important. Dr. Walker found it first. A glowing crystal cube containing what appeared to be the original Council charter. "This is it," he said, his eyes wide as he read the ancient text. The truth. The Council had not formed for peace, as all species were taught. It had formed after the first 5 spacefaring races discovered dark matter technology simultaneously. Rather than share this power, they had agreed to restrict all other developing species, keeping them technologically inferior while presenting themselves as benevolent guides. "We need to broadcast this," Hayes said, copying the data. "Everyone needs to see." Alarms blared suddenly. On her communicator, frantic messages from the Nightshade. "Captain, massive energy buildup detected. Council ships converging on our position." Hayes grabbed the crystal cube. "Move. Back to the ship now." They ran, dodging security forces now flooding the corridors. As they reached the Nightshade, Hayes looked back to see Ambassador Gray himself leading the pursuit, his face twisted with fury. The ship detached from the station, dark matter engines flaring as it accelerated away. On the bridge, reports came in from across coalition forces. "The Elders have activated something called the core device," reported the LUM representative, her crystalline face reflecting the emergency lights. "They're threatening to collapse stars across coalition space if Earth doesn't surrender its dark matter technology." Hayes looked at the crystal cube, now secured in the ship's scanner. "Broadcast this to every communication channel in the galaxy," she ordered. "Let everyone see what the Council really is." As the Nightshade raced back toward Earth, the truth spread across the stars. The Council's original sin, the lies told for thousands of years, the technology suppressed not for safety but for power. And in the darkness of deep space, an ancient weapon began to awaken, its dark matter heart pulsing with deadly purpose. Earth's war room was silent as Dr. Walker explained what they had discovered. Admiral Stone and leaders from a dozen coalition species listened intently, their faces grim. "The core device isn't just a weapon," Walker said, pointing to the holographic display. "It's the original dark matter reactor. The first one ever built, hidden at the Galactic Center." The display showed a massive structure, far larger than any ship or station. It floated in the emptiness near the supermassive black hole at the galaxy's heart, drawing power from the intense gravitational forces. "This is the real core," Walker continued. "The Elders built it together when they first discovered dark matter technology. Instead of using it to help all species advance, they weaponized it." The LUM representative, her crystal body reflecting the hologram's light, leaned forward. "How powerful is it?" "Powerful enough to collapse stars across the galaxy," Walker replied. "It creates a dark matter cascade that disrupts stellar fusion. They've already targeted 20 stars in coalition space." Admiral Stone studied the hologram. "Can it be destroyed?" "Not easily. It's protected by the largest defense fleet the Council has, plus automated weapons platforms. And if damaged incorrectly, it could trigger an uncontrolled cascade that would affect many more stars." Captain Hayes, who had just returned from the archive mission, stood up. "Then we need to neutralize it, not destroy it." All eyes turned to her. "We have the original dark matter equations now," she explained. "Dr. Walker and I have been studying them. We believe we can create a controlled dark matter cascade that would render the core device harmless." "A controlled cascade has never been attempted," Walker warned. "It would require perfect timing, and someone would need to reach the central chamber of the core device to implement it." Stone looked around the room at the coalition representatives. "This affects all our worlds. Are we in agreement?" One by one, they nodded. The Drell commander, his scaled skin dark with determination, spoke for all of them. "We fight together, or we die together." "Then let's plan our attack," Stone said. "We'll need every ship, every resource." As the meeting continued, Ben Miller stood quietly in the corner, watching. He had been the first to infiltrate the Council, the first to discover their true nature. Now he would be part of their downfall. He thought of his parents, who had disappeared when he was a child. The records he'd found in the Council archives confirmed what he had always suspected. They had been taken by Council harvesters, sent to work in mines on distant worlds. This fight was personal for him. For all of them. The Coalition fleet gathered at the edge of the Galactic core region, hidden behind a dense nebula. 100 ships, the largest free fleet the galaxy had seen in millennia. At its center were Earth's 5 dark matter warships, now joined by 7 more built by their allies. On the bridge of the Nightshade, Hayes reviewed the final plan with her officers. "The attack happens in 3 waves," she explained. "First, the Drell heavy ships hit their outer defenses. Then, our combined dark matter fleet punches through to the installation itself. Finally, the strike team enters the core device." The strike team consisted of Dr. Walker, who understood the dark matter technology better than anyone, Ben Miller, who had studied the Council's security systems, and Hayes herself, who would command the operation. Once inside, Walker added, "We'll have 30 minutes to reach the central chamber and implement the cascade program before the core device completes its firing sequence. If we fail," asked Maria from engineering. 20 inhabited worlds die," Hayes said simply. "We won't fail." The order came from Admiral Stone. "Begin the operation." The drill ships moved first, massive organic vessels that absorbed enemy fire while delivering devastating blows to the outer defense platforms. Council ships rushed to meet them, not realizing it was only the first wave. Then the dark matter fleet appeared, seemingly from nowhere, already past the outer defenses. Their weapons tore through the surprised Council vessels. On the Nightshade's bridge, Hayes watched the battle unfold. "Status: Path to the core device is opening," Jack reported. "Casualties are within acceptable limits." Hayes nodded. "Take us in. Maximum speed." The Nightshade accelerated toward the massive structure at the center of the battle. 2 other dark matter ships flanked it, drawing fire and providing cover. "Docking point identified," Jack called out. "It's heavily defended. All weapons, concentrated fire," Hayes ordered. The Nightshade's cannons blazed, clearing the way to a small maintenance airlock. As they approached, a Council battleship moved to intercept them. "They're going to ram us," Jack warned. "Hard to port," Hayes commanded. The Nightshade swerved, but the battleship adjusted its course. Then a coalition vessel slammed into the battleship, pushing it away. It was Ben's friend Nix, commanding a Proxima Centauri cruiser. "Path is clear," came Nix's voice over the comm. "Make it count." Hayes, Walker, and Ben suited up in the airlock. "We'll have communications until we reach the central chamber," Walker warned. "After that, the dark matter fields will block all signals." They launched themselves across the gap, magnetic boots locking onto the core device's hull. Ben worked quickly, bypassing the airlock security. "We're in," he reported. Inside, the ancient structure hummed with power. Dark matter energy flowed through conduits in the walls, pulsing like black blood. "This way," Ben said, consulting his scanner. "The central chamber is 2 levels down." They moved through dimly lit corridors, occasionally encountering Council security drones, which they dispatched quickly and quietly. "Energy levels are rising," Walker warned, checking his instruments. "The firing sequence is accelerating." "They know we're here," Hayes realized. "They're trying to complete the sequence before we can stop it." They reached a massive door blocking their path to the central chamber. Ben studied the lock. "This will take time," he said, pulling out his bypass tools. "Time we don't have," Walker replied, checking his readings again. 15 minutes until full activation." Ben worked frantically on the door while Hayes and Walker stood guard. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the structure. "We've been detected," Hayes said. "Be ready for." The sound of approaching security forces echoed down the corridor. Heavy footsteps, weapons charging. "Almost got it," Ben muttered. The first security drones rounded the corner, firing immediately. Hayes returned fire, forcing them back. "There's too many," she called. "Ben, hurry." "Got it," he shouted as the door slid open. "Go. I'll hold them off." Hayes hesitated. "That's not the plan." Ben smiled sadly. "Plans change, Captain." He pressed something into her hand. A small holographic projector. "I found this in the archives. It's a recording of my parents, before they were taken. After this is over, make sure someone finds their colony. Before she could respond, he pushed her and Walker through the door, then sealed it from his side. "Ben," Hayes shouted, but it was too late. Through the small window in the door, she watched as he turned to face the approaching forces, weapons ready. "We need to move," Walker said gently. "His sacrifice won't matter if we fail." They raced toward the central chamber, the heart of the core device. What they found there was breathtaking. A perfect sphere of contained dark matter, larger than any they had seen before, floating in a vast circular room. "The original dark matter core," Walker whispered in awe. "The power source for their entire civilization." Hayes shook off her grief for Ben. "Can you neutralize it?" Walker approached the control panel surrounding the sphere. "I think so. But I'll need to get closer to the core itself." As he worked, Hayes stood guard. Through the massive viewport, she could see the battle raging outside. Coalition ships fighting with desperate courage, buying them the time they needed. "Hurry," she urged. Almost. Walker's hands flew over the controls. "There. I've created a pathway for the Cascade program." He connected his device to the panel, then stepped back. "Now we wait. The Cascade will build slowly at first, then." A violent explosion rocked the chamber. Hayes was thrown against a wall, momentarily stunned. When her vision cleared, she saw Walker lying on the floor, blood seeping from a wound in his side. Ambassador Gray stood in a newly blasted doorway, holding an energy weapon. "Humans," he spat, his musical voice now harsh with hatred. "Always interfering. Always thinking you know better than those who have ruled for thousands of years." Hayes drew her weapon, but Gray fired again, knocking it from her hand. "The Cascade program is already running," she told him. "You can't stop it. I can still complete the firing sequence before your Cascade takes effect." Gray replied, moving to the control panel. "Your coalition worlds will die, and then we will rebuild our order." Hayes looked at Walker, who lay motionless but had opened his eyes. He gave her the slightest nod. "You never understood humans," Hayes said, drawing Gray's attention back to her. "We don't give up. We don't accept limits, and we certainly don't bow to tyrants like you." While she spoke, Walker had quietly reached for his device, pressing a final sequence. The dark matter sphere pulsed suddenly, changing from black to a deep purple. Gray spun around in alarm. "What have you done?" he cried. "Accelerated the Cascade." Walker gasped. "It's over." The sphere pulsed faster, waves of energy washing through the chamber. Gray screamed as the energy touched him, his body dissolving into particles. Hayes ran to Walker, helping him up. "We need to get out of here." "No time," he said weakly. "But it's okay. The Cascade isn't destroying the core. It's transforming it. The energy will spread through the galaxy, neutralizing the weapon without harming the stars." Through the viewport, Hayes watched in awe as waves of purple energy spread outward from the core device, washing over Council and Coalition ships alike without harming them. The dark matter sphere pulsed one final time, then stabilized, now a permanent purple glow. "It's beautiful," Walker whispered. Hayes helped him toward the exit. "Let's go home." 3 months later, representatives from 87 formerly restricted species gathered on Earth. The Grand Meeting Hall had been built specifically for this occasion, the founding of a new galactic alliance. Admiral Stone opened the proceedings, standing before the assembled delegates. "We gather today not as rulers and subjects, not as advanced and primitive, but as equals. The age of the Council is over. The age of cooperation begins." Captain Hayes sat in the front row, now wearing the insignia of Earth's ambassador to the new alliance. Beside her sat Dr. Walker, recovered from his wounds, and representatives from the Drell, the Lum, and Proxima Centauri. She thought of Ben Miller, whose sacrifice had made this possible. His parents had been found on a distant mining colony, freed in the final days of the conflict. They now worked with other survivors, rebuilding lives that had been stolen. Our first act, Stone continued, is to establish the principles of our alliance. Knowledge shared, not hoarded. Technology developed for the benefit of all. Defense of the weak against the strong. Hayes looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, the transformed core device continued to pulse with purple energy, a reminder of what happened when power was abused, and when different species stood together against tyranny. The new alliance would face challenges. The remaining Council loyalists were still a threat. Countless worlds needed healing after millennia of oppression. But for the first time, they would face these challenges together, as equals. Humanity's dark matter warships had shaken the Galactic Council to its foundations, revealing the real core of darkness at its heart. And now, a new light was spreading across the stars. The sky above Haven Colony burned red, not the gentle crimson of the planet's usual sunset, but the angry glow of ships in low orbit. Enemy ships. Captain Tom James stood at the edge of the colony's main defense bunker, his weathered face illuminated by the emergency lights. 3 days. That's how long they had been under siege by the Void Armée. 3 days of constant bombing, of fear, of watching their outer defenses crumble one by one. Captain. The voice came from behind him. Lisa Bell, his second in command, approached with a data tablet in her hand. Her uniform was stained with dirt and what looked like engine oil. The North shield is down to 18%. If they hit it again with those plasma cannons. She didn't need to finish. They both knew what it meant. How many ships do we count now? Tom asked, his voice steadied despite everything. Lisa's face tightened. 47. They brought in 3 more destroyers last night. Tom nodded slowly. Haven was supposed to be exactly that. A haven. The first successful human colony in the Arcturus system. Established just 15 years ago. Now home to over 5,000 colonists. Families. Children. People who had come to build a new life, not die in an unprovoked alien attack. The civilians, he asked. Safe for now. All in the underground shelters. Food and water for 2 more weeks, at most. The bunker shook as another explosion hit somewhere nearby. Dust fell from the ceiling. No one flinched anymore. They had gotten used to it. Sir, Lisa hesitated. The council wants to meet. They're talking about surrender terms. Tom's jaw tightened. There won't be any terms, Lisa. You've seen what the Void does to colonies that surrender. The Void Armada had appeared 6 months ago at the edges of human space. No warnings, no demands, no communication at all. Just destruction. 3 smaller outposts had already fallen before they reached Haven. There were no survivors. We need help, Lisa said simply. Earth is at least 4 months away at the fastest FTL speeds, Tom replied. By the time they even get our message. Lisa stepped closer, lowering her voice. That's why I came to find you. I think we have something. Come with me. Deep beneath the main colony complex, past the civilian shelters and emergency power systems, Lisa led Tom through a narrow service tunnel. They had to crouch to avoid hitting their heads on the low ceiling. What exactly are we looking for down here? Tom asked, his flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. Do you remember when we first established the colony, how the survey team found those strange metal structures embedded in the mountain? Tom nodded. The structures had been studied briefly, determined to be remnants of some ancient civilization long gone from Haven. Nothing of immediate value had been discovered, so research had been deprioritized in favor of getting the colony established. Well, Lisa continued, Ben from engineering has been studying them in his spare time. Yesterday, when we lost contact with our communication satellites, he came to me with a theory. They reached a heavy metal door at the end of the tunnel. Lisa pressed her palm against a scanner, and the door slid open with a hiss. Inside was a large chamber carved directly into the rock. The walls were lined with strange, angular metal panels that seemed to shimmer despite the lack of direct light. In the center of the room stood Ben Miller, the colony's head engineer, hunched over what looked like a control panel. "Captain," Ben nodded, his eyes bloodshot from lack of sleep. "Glad Lisa found you." "What am I looking at, Ben?" Tom asked, gazing around the alien chamber. "It's a communication relay, sir. Not just any relay." Ben's eyes lit up with excitement despite their dire situation. "This technology is incredible. The ancients who built this, they were using quantum entanglement for instant communication across vast distances." Instant. Tom's attention snapped into focus. "You mean no light speed delay?" "Exactly," Lisa cut in. "If we can get it working, we could send a message directly to Earth. Not in months. Now." Hope flickered in Tom's chest for the first time in days, but he quickly tempered it. "Does it even work after all this time?" "That's what we've been figuring out." Ben gestured to the alien console. "The system still has power. Some kind of energy source we don't understand. I've managed to interface our equipment with it, but there's a problem. The network it was designed to connect to is gone." "So it's useless." Tom's shoulders slumped. "Not necessarily," Ben replied. "I think I can reconfigure it to send a broad-spectrum pulse, like a shout into the darkness. If Earth has any quantum receivers, even experimental ones, they might pick it up." "That's a big might," Tom said. "It's all we have," Lisa replied simply. Tom looked between his two officers, then at the alien technology surrounding them. "How long to get it ready?" "Give me 6 hours," Ben said. "You have 3, Tom replied. "The North Shield won't last 6. Exactly 3 hours later, the modified alien relay stood ready. The team had connected their own equipment to the ancient technology, creating a hybrid system that looked more like a mechanical monster than a communication device. "The message needs to be short," Ben explained. "Just a few seconds at most. That's all the power we can channel." Tom nodded, stepping up to the makeshift transmitter. He took a deep breath and pressed the record button. "This is Captain Thomas James of Haven Colony. We are under attack by the Void Armada. 47 ships, 5,000 civilians. Our defenses are failing. We need immediate assistance. These are our coordinates." After sending the message, a deafening silence filled the alien chamber. No one knew if it had worked, if anyone had heard them. The ground shook violently as another bombardment began above. "Back to your stations," Tom ordered. "We hold as long as we can." On the bridge of the Void Armada's command ship, General Drac observed the human colony with cold, calculating eyes. His gray skin reflected the glow of the tactical displays, showing the colony's weakening defenses. "Their north shield is collapsing," his weapons officer reported. 2 more strikes, and we can land ground forces." Drac nodded in satisfaction. "These humans are persistent, I'll give them that. But ultimately, they are no different from the others." A sudden alert caught his attention. One of his sensor officers turned with a confused expression. "General, we detected a strange energy spike from the colony. Some kind of transmission. But it's like nothing we've seen before." "Intercepted," Drac ordered. "We cannot, sir." It disappeared, as if it wasn't bound by normal space. Drac's eyes narrowed. He rose from his command chair and approached the colony's holographic display, studying it with renewed interest. "It doesn't matter," he finally said. "Even if they found some way to call for help, no one will reach them in time. No one can travel faster than light allows." He turned to his bridge crew, mandibles clicking in what passed for a smile among his kind. "Continue the attack. By nightfall, this colony will be nothing but ashes, like all the others." Little did Drac know that the humans of Earth had been making breakthroughs he couldn't imagine, and that Captain James's desperate call had already been received, not months later, but mere seconds after it was sent. The extinction of Haven Colony seemed certain, but far away. Something was already in motion that would change everything. The message arrived in the middle of Earth's night cycle. At Earth's military command center in the North American zone, most of the staff had gone home. Only the night shift remained, monitoring communications from the hundreds of human outposts scattered across known space. Lieutenant Dave Wilson sat at his console, fighting to stay awake. His shift would end in 20 minutes. 20 long minutes before he could head home to his apartment and fall into bed. The screens in front of him showed nothing unusual: routine check-ins, supply requests, and the occasional minor emergency that local forces could handle. Then every alarm in the command center went off at once. Dave jolted upright as his screens filled with flashing red warnings. For a moment, he thought it was a system malfunction. But then the message played. "This is Captain Thomas James of Haven Colony. We are under attack by the Void Armée. 47 ships, 5,000 civilians. Our defenses are failing. We need immediate assistance. These are our coordinates." The voice was clear, as if Captain James was standing right next to him, not transmitting from a colony 4 months away at the fastest possible speeds. "Sir," Dave called out, his voice rising with urgency. "Priority 1 message from Haven Colony. They're under attack." Admiral Robert Brown was there in seconds, his weathered face stern as he listened to the message replay. "That's impossible," he muttered. "Haven is in the Arcturus system. There's no way we could receive a real-time transmission from that distance." "Sir, the quantum signature is authenticated," Dave replied, pointing to the verification codes on his screen. "This came through on a channel we didn't even know existed. Some kind of quantum entanglement that bypasses normal communication delays." Admiral Brown's expression darkened. "Get me the Joint Chiefs. Now." 2 hours later, the crisis room at Military Command was filled with Earth's highest-ranking military officials, their faces grim as they studied the tactical displays. 47 void ships, General Martinez stated, shaking her head. "Even if we could get there instantly, which we can't, we don't have enough forces in the entire sector to defeat a fleet that size. And Haven has no chance on their own," Admiral Brown added. "Their defenses were designed for pirates and minor threats, not a full-scale invasion." The room fell silent. Everyone knew what was at stake. Haven wasn't just any colony. It was the first successful settlement in the Arcturus system, a symbol of humanity's expansion beyond their home solar system. If it fell, other colonies would follow. "If only we could get there in time," Admiral Brown said, staring at the star map showing the vast distance between Earth and Haven. "Maybe we can." All heads turned toward the door. A young man stood there, his rumpled lab coat suggesting he'd been pulled from work. His ID badge identified him as Dr. Mike Reynolds, Advanced Propulsion Division. "Who let you in here?" General Martinez demanded. Admiral Brown raised a hand. "I did. Dr. Reynolds has been working on a project that might be relevant." "Go ahead, Doctor." Mike stepped forward, clearly nervous to be addressing such a distinguished audience. He tapped a command into his tablet, and a hologram appeared in the center of the room, a massive ship unlike any in Earth's current fleet. "This is the Defender," Mike explained. "It's the prototype for our new line of battleships. We've been testing a new propulsion system, Project Thunderbolt. It's based on folding space rather than traveling through it. You're talking about an instant jump," Admiral Brown said, "like the transmission we received." Mike nodded eagerly. "Exactly. We've never tried it with a ship this size. But the math works. Instead of taking months to reach Haven, we could be there in minutes." "And how many of these instant jump ships do we have?" General Martinez asked. Mike's excitement faltered. "Just the one, ma'am. The Defender. And we've only done short-range tests so far. Nothing like the distance to Arcturus. So you're proposing we send one untested ship against 47 enemy vessels?" Another general scoffed. "Not exactly," Admiral Brown said thoughtfully. "The Defender is big enough to carry several smaller ships in its launch bays, and it's armed with our latest weapons systems. It's still a suicide mission," General Martinez argued. Admiral Brown turned to Mike. "What are the chances of success, Doctor?" "Honest assessment." Mike took a deep breath. "For the jump itself, About 60%. For winning against that many enemy ships? I don't know. That depends on how good our forces are. Admiral Brown nodded slowly, then turned to face the room. We're not sending the Defender alone. We'll load it with our best fighters and our most elite troops. If this works, we'll have the element of complete surprise. The Void won't be expecting us for months, if at all. And who's going to volunteer for this mission? General Martinez asked. You're talking about testing experimental technology in combat conditions against overwhelming odds. Admiral Brown smiled grimly. I already have volunteers. The massive launch bay of the Defender hummed with activity. Fighters were being loaded into launch tubes. Troops boarded dropships. Engineers ran final checks on systems that had never been pushed to these limits before. Captain Jack Roberts stood on the bridge, watching the preparations on the ship's main screen. At 42, he had seen more combat than most officers twice his age. When Admiral Brown had asked for volunteers, Jack had been the first to step forward. Status report, he called out. All systems nominal, Captain. His first officer, Lieutenant Anna Green, replied. Engineering reports the Thunderbolt drive is as ready as it will ever be. All crew are aboard and at battle stations. Jack nodded. They had assembled the best of the best in just under 12 hours. Pilots who could outfly anything the Void could put in the air. Marines who had fought in the most hostile environments imaginable. Engineers who could keep the ship running even if half of it was blown away. And our passengers? He asked. Anna smiled slightly. Special forces are loaded and ready, sir. Colonel Taylor says his troops could use a good fight. Jack returned the smile. Colonel Bill Taylor and his Special Forces unit had a reputation for doing the impossible. If anyone could help the colonists on the ground, it was them. A communication alert sounded. Admiral Brown's face appeared on the main screen. Captain Roberts, you are cleared for launch. Remember, this is a rescue mission first. Save those colonists if you can, but your primary objective is to assess the Void's capabilities and return with that intelligence if the battle goes against you. With all due respect, Admiral, Jack replied, we're not planning on losing this fight. Admiral Brown's stern expression softened slightly. Godspeed, Captain. Make Earth proud. The communication ended. Jack turned to his crew, all watching him expectantly. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to make history. In a few minutes, we'll attempt the longest jump ever made by a human vessel. If we succeed, we'll arrive at Haven in time to save thousands of lives and show the Void Armada that humanity is not to be trifled with. He paused, looking each crew member in the eye. I won't lie to you. The odds are against us. But Earth is counting on us. Haven is counting on us. So let's show them what humanity's finest can do. Lieutenant Green straightened in her chair. All stations report ready, Captain. Jack nodded. Engage the Thunderbolt drive. The engines began to hum, the sound rising to a pitch that seemed to vibrate through every molecule of the ship. On the view screen, space itself appeared to bend and stretch. Drive at maximum power, the chief engineer reported. Preparing for jump in 3, 2, 1. The stars outside suddenly stretched into lines, then vanished altogether as the Defender and its crew leaped into the unknown, carrying with them Haven's only hope for survival. The jump was nothing like the simulations. Captain Jack Roberts gripped his command chair as reality itself seemed to tear apart around the Defender. The massive battleship shuddered violently, metal groaning under stresses it was never designed to endure. Warning lights flashed across every console on the bridge. Status report. Jack shouted over the noise. Lieutenant Anna Green fought with her controls, trying to make sense of the readings. Unknown, sir. We're somewhere, but sensors aren't functioning properly. The Thunderbolt drive is overheating. Through the main view screen, Jack could see nothing but swirling darkness, occasionally broken by flashes of energy that resembled lightning. They were passing through some kind of space between spaces, a realm that human eyes were never meant to see. Engineering report. Jack called into the comm. Chief Engineer Pete Kelly's voice came back, strained and breaking up with static. Drive. Holding, Captain. But barely. We've never pushed it this far before. She wasn't ready for a jump this long. Jack made a quick decision. All power to structural integrity, and the drive itself. Shut down non-essential systems. Already done, sir, Anna replied. But we're still seeing dangerous power fluctuations. A particularly violent shudder ran through the ship, followed by the sound of a distant explosion. Damage report, Jack demanded. Sections 12 through 15 reporting hull breaches. The tactical officer called out. Emergency force fields are holding, but we've lost 2 of our smaller vessels in Bay 3. Jack cursed under his breath. Those ships would have been valuable in the coming battle. How long until we reach Haven? He asked. Anna shook her head. Impossible to say, sir. Our navigation systems can't make sense of where we are. Could be minutes, could be hours. Jack stood up, steadying himself against his chair as the ship continued to shake. I'm going to check on our troops. Lieutenant Green, you have the bridge. Try to stabilize our course if you can. Yes, sir, Anna replied, sliding into the captain's chair as Jack made his way to the turbolift. In the main hangar bay, Colonel Bill Taylor was addressing his Special Forces troops when Jack arrived. Unlike the ship's crew, these men and women seemed almost relaxed despite the violent shaking of the vessel. They had been through worse. Captain on deck. Someone called out, and the soldiers snapped to attention. At ease, Jack said, Colonel Taylor, I need a word. Bill Taylor was a tall, muscular man with a face that looked like it had been carved from stone. He nodded to his troops and stepped aside with Jack. How bad is it? Bill asked without preamble. Bad enough, Jack admitted. The ship is holding together, but the jump is putting more strain on the systems than we anticipated. We may arrive at Haven with some damage. Bill nodded, unsurprised. My troops are ready regardless. We can deploy from orbit even if the ship can't land. Good, Jack replied. But there's something else you should know. Lieutenant Smith from Intelligence has been analyzing the data we have on the Void Armée. It's worse than we thought. Jack handed Bill a data tablet. On it was a series of images showing void ships in various sectors of space, along with a timeline. They're not just attacking randomly, Jack explained. They're systematically wiping out every spacefaring civilization they encounter. Haven isn't special. It's just next on their list. Bill's eyes narrowed as he studied the information. So this isn't just about saving one colony. It's about stopping them before they reach Earth. Exactly, Jack said. Admiral Brown suspects they're eliminating potential threats before launching a full-scale invasion of Earth itself. That's why this mission is so important. Even if we can't save Haven, we need to gather intelligence on their capabilities. A violent lurch of the ship interrupted their conversation, nearly throwing both men off their feet. Captain Roberts to the bridge immediately. Anna's voice came over the comm, tight with urgency. Jack and Bill exchanged a look. Stay ready, Colonel, Jack said before hurrying back toward the turbolift. When Jack returned to the bridge, he found chaos. Smoke filled the air from a burned-out console, and crew members were working frantically at their stations. Report, Jack called out. Anna looked up from the main console, her face pale. The Thunderbolt drive is failing, sir. We're being pulled out of the jump prematurely. Where are we? That's the thing, sir, the navigation officer replied. According to our calculations, we're still at least 2 light years from Haven. The drive couldn't handle a full distance. Jack's heart sank. 2 light years was better than the 4 months it would have taken at regular FTL speeds, but it was still too far to help the colony in time. Options, he asked. Chief Engineer Pete Kelly's voice came over the comm. Captain, I might have a solution. The drive core is damaged but not destroyed. If we vent the plasma from the main reactor directly into the Thunderbolt chamber, we might be able to make one more short jump. That sounds extremely dangerous, Jack replied. It is, Pete admitted. We're talking about a 30% chance of success, 70% chance of blowing ourselves to atoms. But it's the only way we reach Haven in time. Jack closed his eyes briefly, weighing the options. Open space outside the jump field was relatively safe. They could make repairs, send a message back to Earth about what they had learned, and return home. Or they could risk everything on one more desperate jump. He thought of the 5,000 colonists on Haven, their faces upturned to the sky as enemy ships rained destruction down upon them. "Do it," he ordered. "Prepare for the second jump." As the crew worked frantically to prepare the ship for the risky maneuver, Lieutenant John Smith approached Jack quietly. "Captain, there's something else you should see," he said, offering a data tablet. Jack took it, scanning the information quickly. It was a more detailed analysis of the Void Armada's movements, compiled from the ship's long-range sensors during their brief exit from the jump field. "Are you sure about this?" Jack asked, his voice low. John nodded grimly. "Yes, sir. The data is clear. The Void ships at Haven aren't just a random battle group. Based on the energy signatures and formation patterns, that's their command fleet. Their leader is there." Jack's expression hardened. "So if we can somehow defeat them at Haven, it could cripple their entire invasion plan," John finished. "But sir, even with all our advanced technology, we're still outnumbered. The Defender is powerful, but not that powerful." Jack handed the tablet back. "Then we'll just have to be smarter than they are. Get this information to Colonel Taylor and the tactical team. I want battle plans that take advantage of this." "Yes, sir." The ship shuddered again as engineers rerouted power systems and prepared for the desperate final jump. "All hands, prepare for emergency jump procedure," Jack announced over the ship-wide comm. "This will be rougher than the first one. Secure all stations and brace for extreme turbulence." As the crew rushed to comply, Jack returned to his command chair and strapped himself in. The view screen showed the swirling darkness of normal space, stars glittering against the void. "Thunderbolt drive is reconfigured, Captain," Pete reported from engineering. "Ready on your command." Jack took a deep breath. "For Earth. For Haven. Engage." The ship lurched forward as the drive activated once more, the stars stretching and twisting before disappearing entirely. The Defender shuddered violently, but this time there was a sense of purpose to their journey. They were no longer testing an unproven technology. They were bringing war to the void. On Haven, the situation had become desperate. Captain Tom James crouched behind a fallen wall, dust covering his uniform and blood caking the side of his face. The colony's north shield had finally collapsed 6 hours ago, allowing void ground forces to land. Now they were fighting street by street, building by building. "Captain." Lisa crawled up beside him, her rifle clutched tightly in her hands. "They've reached the central plaza. We can't hold them much longer." Tom nodded grimly. He had already ordered all remaining civilians to retreat to the deepest underground shelters. His soldiers were fighting bravely, but they were vastly outnumbered and outgunned. "What about the east sector?" he asked. "Still holding, but barely," Lisa replied. "Ben rigged some of the mining explosives as traps. That's slowed them down." A series of explosions rocked the ground nearby, sending debris raining down around them. Tom ducked lower, shielding Lisa with his body until the dust settled. "We need to fall back to position 3, he said, checking his weapons charge. "We can't let them reach the civilian shelters." Lisa nodded. She was about to speak when her communication device beeped. She looked at it with surprise. "It's Ben," she said. "He's still at the relay station. Says he's picking up strange energy readings in orbit." Tom frowned. "The void bringing in more ships?" "No." Lisa's eyes widened as she read the message. "He says it's different. Nothing like the void signatures, and it just appeared out of nowhere." Hope flickered in Tom's chest, but he quickly suppressed it. False hope was more dangerous than none at all. "Probably just a sensor malfunction," he said. "Tell him to." The sky above them suddenly lit up with a brilliant flash of light, so bright that both of them had to shield their eyes. When they looked up again, the red glow of the void ships had been replaced by something else. Multiple streaks of blue-white light descending rapidly from orbit. "What is that?" Lisa whispered. Before Tom could answer, his comm unit crackled to life. A voice came through, clear and strong. A voice he didn't recognize. "Haven Colony, this is Captain Jack Roberts of the Earth Battleship Defender. We received your call. Hold fast. Reinforcements are incoming." On the bridge of his flagship, General Drac was watching the ground assault with satisfaction when alarms began blaring across the command deck. "What now?" he demanded, irritated by the interruption. His sensor officer turned, mandibles clicking nervously. "Unknown energy signature detected, General. Massive power readings, like nothing we've ever seen." "Show me," Drac ordered. The main view screen changed to show the space above Haven. At first, there was nothing but the stars and his own fleet. Then, suddenly, reality itself seemed to tear open. A swirling vortex of energy appeared where empty space had been moments before. "What is that?" Drac demanded, rising from his command chair. Before anyone could answer, a massive ship emerged from the vortex, larger than any vessel in his own fleet, its hull gleaming with unfamiliar weapon systems. Behind it came smaller ships, dozens of them, pouring out of the tear in space like angry insects from a disturbed nest. "Impossible," Drac whispered. "No species has mastered instant space travel. The humans can't be here." "They can't." "Sir, they're deploying fighters," his weapons officer called out. "And drop ships heading for the surface." Drac's shock quickly turned to anger. "Target that main vessel. All ships, concentrate fire." His fleet responded immediately, energy weapons powering up and locking onto the Defender. But the human ship moved with surprising speed for its size, its shields flaring blue as they absorbed the first volleys. "Their shields are holding," the weapons officer reported, unable to keep the surprise from his voice. "Our weapons are having minimal effect." "Impossible," Drac repeated, watching as the human vessel unleashed its own weapons. Brilliant beams of energy lanced out from the Defender, striking 3 of his destroyers simultaneously. The void ship shields collapsed instantly, their hulls rupturing in explosive decompressions. For the first time in his long military career, General Drac felt fear. Captain Jack Roberts watched the battle unfold on the Defender's tactical display. Their sudden arrival had given them a crucial advantage. Surprise. The Void Fleet was scrambling to respond, their formation breaking apart as ships attempted to reposition. "Target their command vessel," Jack ordered. "Lieutenant Green, prepare to deploy our fighters." "Fighters ready for launch, sir," Anna replied. "Colonel Taylor's dropships are also prepared to depart." Jack nodded. "Launch all fighters. Tell Colonel Taylor he is clear to begin the ground assault." The ship shuddered slightly as launch bays opened, disgorging dozens of sleek fighter craft. Unlike the bulky void ships, Earth's fighters were small, fast, and nearly impossible to hit. They streaked toward the enemy fleet, weapons blazing. "Sir," the communications officer called out, "I've established contact with Haven's defense forces. Captain James is requesting immediate assistance in the colony's central district. Route his coordinates to Colonel Taylor," Jack replied. "Tell him help is on the way." On the main view screen, Jack could see the Void's command ship, a massive dark vessel bristling with weapons. It was turning slowly, trying to bring its main guns to bear on the Defender. "They're targeting us, sir," the tactical officer reported. Jack smiled grimly. "Let them try. Shields at maximum. Return fire with the main cannons." The Defender's advanced weapon systems came to life, energy building in the forward arrays. Unlike the crude plasma weapons used by the Void, Earth's ships were equipped with focused particle beams, weapons that could slice through enemy shields like they weren't even there. "Fire," Jack ordered. The beams lanced out, striking the Void command ship with pinpoint accuracy. Its shields flared and then collapsed, sections of its hull peeling away under the assault. "Direct hit," the tactical officer called out. "Their weapon systems are severely damaged." "Sir, Colonel Taylor reports his forces have landed," Anna said. "They're engaging Void ground troops near the colony center." Jack nodded. The battle was far from over, but they had achieved the impossible. They had arrived in time and were now fighting back. On the surface, Tom and Lisa watched in awe as the sky filled with unfamiliar ships. At first, they had feared it was more Void forces, but then they saw the symbols painted on the hulls. Earth's emblem, the blue planet with its protective shield. "They came," Lisa whispered, tears in her eyes. They actually came. Tom couldn't believe it either. Somehow, against all odds, Earth had received their message and responded, not in months, but in days. It seemed impossible. The dropships landed in the open area behind their position, ramps descending to disgorge heavily armed soldiers in advanced combat armor. Their weapons made the colonists look like toys. A tall, imposing man approached, his helmet retracting to reveal a weathered face. "Captain James?" he asked. Tom nodded, still stunned. "Colonel Bill Taylor, Earth Special Forces," the man said, extending a hand. "Heard you folks could use some help." Tom clasped the offered hand, feeling strength flow back into his tired body. "How is this possible? How did you get here so quickly?" Bill smiled. "New technology. The eggheads call it the Thunderbolt drive. First real test run. And I gotta say, it's one hell of a ride." More soldiers fanned out around them, taking up defensive positions. Their weapons hummed with power that Tom had never seen before. "What's the situation?" Bill asked. "All business now." Tom quickly described the Void's positions, their tactics, and the location of the civilian shelters. Bill nodded, then activated his comm. "All units, move to positions Alpha through Delta. Priority 1 is securing the civilian shelters. Show these Void bastards what happens when they mess with human colonies." He turned back to Tom. "Captain, if you and your people can hold this position, we'll handle the rest." Tom straightened, newfound determination flowing through him. "We'll hold. Count on it." Above them, the battle in orbit continued to rage. But for the first time since the Void had appeared, Tom felt something he had almost forgotten. Hope. The battle for Haven unfolded across both space and ground with stunning speed. In orbit, the Defender moved with impossible grace for a vessel of its size, its advanced engines allowing it to outmaneuver the larger Void ships despite their numbers. Captain Jack Roberts stood at the center of his bridge, calmly issuing orders as the ship shuddered under enemy fire. "Evasive pattern Delta," he commanded. "Target their engines and weapon systems. Disable, don't destroy." "Sir," Lieutenant Anna Green questioned, glancing up from her console. "We need intelligence," Jack explained. "Admiral Brown wants prisoners and intact technology. Focus on the command ship." On the tactical display, Earth's fighters swarmed around the Void vessels, like angry bees, their smaller size making them difficult targets for the aliens' heavy weapons. With each pass, they struck with precision, targeting shield generators and weapon emplacements. "Sir, the Void fleet is breaking formation," the tactical officer reported. "They appear to be retreating." Jack frowned. This wasn't the behavior he expected from an armada that had conquered multiple systems without defeat. "It's a trick," he decided. "They're regrouping. Target their command ship before they can coordinate." The Defender's main cannons charged again, gathering energy until the air on the bridge seemed to crackle with power. When they fired, the beams cut through space like blue lightning, striking the Void command ship's engines. The massive vessel shuddered, then began to drift. "Direct hit," the tactical officer called out. "Their engines are offline." Jack allowed himself a small smile. "Send the boarding teams. I want General Drac alive." On the ground, the battle had transformed from a desperate last stand into a coordinated counterattack. Colonel Bill Taylor led his special forces through the colony streets, working in perfect sync with Captain Tom James and the colonial defenders. "Push forward," Bill shouted, his advanced battle armor deflecting enemy fire as if it were nothing more than rain. "Don't let them regroup." The Void ground forces, used to easy victories against outmatched opponents, found themselves facing soldiers with superior training and equipment. Earth's special forces moved like ghosts through the ruined buildings, their weapons cutting down alien troops with surgical precision. In the colony's main square, Tom and Lisa fought alongside Earth's soldiers, their exhaustion forgotten in the rush of combat. For the first time in days, they were advancing instead of retreating. "They're falling back," Lisa called out, watching as a group of Void soldiers abandoned their position. Tom nodded grimly. "Don't let up. We need to secure the civilian shelters." A massive explosion rocked the ground nearby as one of the Void's larger ground vehicles went up in flames, hit by a precision strike from an Earth fighter flying overhead. Bill approached, his armor scorched but intact. "Captain James, we've secured the east sector. My teams report the Void forces are in full retreat across the colony. They're heading back to their ships," Tom realized. Bill tapped his communication device. "Captain Roberts, be advised. Void ground forces are attempting to evacuate. Request air support to cut off their retreat." "Acknowledged, Colonel." Jack's voice came back clearly. "Fighters are being redirected now. Be advised, we've disabled their command ship and are preparing to board." Tom could hardly believe what he was hearing. In just hours, the seemingly invincible Void Armada was being driven back by Earth's forces. It seemed impossible. "How?" he asked Bill. "How are we winning so decisively?" Bill's face grew serious. "They've never faced real resistance before. Intelligence thinks they've been picking off isolated colonies and weaker species, building their strength. But they've never encountered Earth's full military power." He gestured to the sky, where the battle continued to rage. "That ship up there, the Defender, is just the prototype. Earth has been preparing for something like this ever since we started exploring beyond our solar system." A series of explosions lit up the sky as more Void ships fell to Earth's fighters. "Today," Bill said with grim satisfaction, "they picked the wrong species to mess with." On the bridge of his crippled flagship, General Drac watched in disbelief as his supposedly invincible armada was systematically dismantled by the human forces. Alarms blared all around him, emergency lights casting red shadows across the command deck. "Sir, Earth forces have boarded levels 3 through 7, his security chief reported, mandibles clicking nervously. "Our troops cannot hold them back. Their weapons, we've never seen anything like them." Drac snarled in frustration. This wasn't possible. The humans were supposed to be an emerging species, barely capable of interstellar travel. Yet here they were, wielding technology that rivaled or even surpassed the Void's own. "How many ships can still jump to safety?" he demanded. "Perhaps 15, General. The rest are either destroyed or disabled." Less than a third of his fleet, the worst defeat in the history of the Void Armada. "Order them to jump immediately," Drac commanded. "Return to Homeworld and warn the Council." The security chief hesitated. "And you, General?" Before Drac could answer, the doors to the bridge slid open with a hiss. Earth's soldiers poured in, their weapons raised. Behind them came a tall human in a captain's uniform. "General Drac, I presume." Captain Jack Roberts said calmly, as if they were meeting at a diplomatic function rather than in the middle of a battle. "I am Captain Jack Roberts of Earth's forces. Your fleet is defeated. Your ground forces are in retreat. I suggest you surrender." Drac stared at the human with hatred burning in his 4 eyes. "You think this is victory? This is merely one battle. The Void spans dozens of systems. We will return with 1,000 ships, and your colony will burn." Jack smiled slightly. "I don't think so, General. You see, while we've been talking, Earth has been analyzing your ship's computer systems. We now have the locations of all your bases, your fleet movements, even your homeworld. He stepped closer. Right now, hundreds of ships like the Defender are being prepared. By the time you face trial for your crimes, the Void Armada will no longer exist. Drax's expression shifted from hatred to shock, then to something humans rarely saw on a Void face. Fear. Impossible, he whispered. Jack shrugged. That's what you thought about us arriving here in time to save Haven. Perhaps you should reconsider what humans are capable of. 3 days later, the colony of Haven was beginning to rebuild. The Void forces had been completely defeated, their remaining ships captured or destroyed. General Drax and several high-ranking Void officers were being held aboard the Defender, awaiting transport back to Earth for trial. Captain Tom James stood at the edge of the colony's main plaza, watching as Earth engineers worked alongside his people to repair the damage. The Defender hung in orbit above them, a gleaming guardian promising that Haven would never again be unprotected. "Captain," a voice called. Tom turned to see Lisa approaching with Captain Jack Roberts. "The last of the civilian shelters have been opened," Lisa reported, smiling for the first time in days. "Everyone's safe." Tom nodded, relief washing over him. "Thanks to Earth." Jack shook his head. "Thanks to your message. If you hadn't found that ancient relay, we would never have known about the attack until it was too late." "What happens now?" Tom asked. "Now," Jack said, "Earth knows the threat. The Defender will remain here to protect Haven while more ships are built. The Void thought they could pick us off one by one, colony by colony. They thought we were weak and isolated." He looked up at the sky, where the stars were beginning to appear as dusk fell. "They were wrong," he continued. "Humanity stands together. An attack on one colony is an attack on all of us, and they've learned what happens when Earth's forces arrive." Tom looked at the alien general being led in restraints toward a transport ship nearby. When Drax saw him watching, the general paused. "You," Drax said, his voice filled with bitterness. "You should have been easy prey. No one should have come for you." Tom stepped forward, facing the alien who had nearly destroyed his home and killed his people. "I told you someone would come," he said simply. As Drax was led away, Tom looked back at the colony, damaged but standing, its people alive and free. Above them, Earth's mightiest force kept watch, a promise to all humanity's children among the stars. "You are not alone. We will always come."